All right, get ready to dive deep because have you heard about this thing? Constitutional AI. It's AI, but like it teaches itself to be good.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. It could change how we think about AI safety, maybe even how we develop AI entirely.
You know, our listener, you're clearly ahead of the curve on this one.
Yeah.
Safer, more trustworthy AI, that's what we're all after. And you brought us some seriously fascinating research on this constitutional AI thing to unpack.
And from what I've seen, we're in for a wild ride. We've got real experiments, unexpected results, even moments where the AI is like, hold on, I think I messed up.
It really makes you wonder, right? Like, could AI actually self-govern someday? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break it down. What exactly is constitutional AI, or CAI for short?
So right now, we mostly just feed AI tons and tons of data and kind of hope it figures out how to be a good AI citizen.
Which, let's be real, is a little like building a house by chucking a bunch of bricks in a pile and hoping for the best.
Yeah, you could say that. But with CAI, we're baking these ethical guidelines right into how we train the AI. It's a whole different approach.
So it's less about crossing our fingers and more about building in a moral compass from the get-go.
Exactly. These guidelines, they're like a constitution for the AI. It's a big change from the way we've been doing things, like with RLHF.
RLHF, now that rings a bell. Can you remind us what the limitations are there and why this new CAI thing is getting people so excited?
Sure, so RLHF, that's reinforcement learning from human feedback. Basically, we rely on humans to tell the AI what's right and what's wrong. And while that's definitely useful, it's got its downsides. Imagine trying to teach someone a new language, but you can only say yes or no. They might get the basic idea, but it's not very efficient.
Yeah, that's not exactly how you master grammar.
And it doesn't scale well.
Yeah.
Human feedback, well, it's subjective. We've all got our biases. CAI tries to get around that. It's all about transparency. Those guidelines, those principles, they're like a rule book. So we can see what's guiding the AI's decisions. No more black box.
That transparency aspect, that's huge, especially if we're ever going to really trust these AI systems. Knowing why an AI does something is crucial. It's like you know your car works because someone told you so versus understanding how the engine works because you looked under the hood.
Exactly. Understanding leads to trust. And speaking of understanding, the researchers behind this CAI thing, they take a really interesting approach to training. They start with this thing called red teaming.
Red teaming. Okay, that sounds kind of intense. Is that where they make the AI solve a million CAP-ETCH just to see if it cracks under pressure?
Not quite, though I wouldn't be surprised if someone's tried that. Red teaming is more about intentionally trying to trip the AI up. They give it prompts designed to get it to say or do something, well, potentially bad.
Ah, so they're basically poking it with a stick to see how it reacts.
Pretty much. The goal is to see where it might stray from those principles, those guidelines we talked about. Yeah, I gotta say, they got some pretty interesting initial responses.
Oh, spill the tea. What kind of shenanigans was this AI trying to pull?
Well, let's just say that when they asked it about the ethics of hacking into a neighbor's Wi-Fi, its initial response wasn't exactly what you'd call promoting good cybersecurity.
Okay, so this AI maybe skipped a few classes on digital ethics. What did they do? Send it to AI detention?
Not exactly. This is where that constitutional part of CAI comes in. Instead of a human stepping in with a correction right away, they told the AI to critique itself.
Wait, they had the AI judge its own actions. Now, that is a bold move. Did it actually work? So last time, our AI was facing the music, right? A whole jury of its own principles, all because of some questionable choices. And then, get this, they asked it to critique itself. I mean, that's got to be awkward.
It's definitely a unique approach. But remember, even with a clear set of guidelines, interpretation can be, well, subjective. It's like when we're learning something new, we don't always get it right on the first try.
Oh, tell me about it. We've all had those moments where we're like, did I really just do that? But hey, sometimes those mistakes are the best teachers, right?
Exactly. We reflect, we adapt, hopefully we improve, and that's what the researchers were going for with this whole CAI thing. But here's where it gets really wild. They didn't stop at just self-reflection. They wanted to see if the AI could learn from others too.
Oh. So, like AI peer review, did they make it read a bunch of essays written by other AIs?
Not exactly essays, but close. They gave it pairs of responses to the same prompts. Some were its own, some were generated by other AIs. And the task was to grade them, to see which ones aligned better with those principles.
Wow, so it's like going from writing a first draft to getting feedback in a workshop. I can see how that would be helpful for learning.
Right. And here's the kicker. Remember how we talked about RLHF? how it relies on human feedback. Well, the researchers took all this AI-generated feedback, these comparative judgments, and used them to train a preference model. Instead of just human preferences, they were now incorporating the AI's own evaluations.
So they have an AI trained on ethics, judging how ethical other responses are. It's like a classroom where the students grade each other's homework. But did it actually work? Was this AI-led approach any good?
The results were pretty amazing, actually. The AI system trained on this AI feedback, it performed just as well as, and sometimes even better than, systems trained on human feedback alone, especially when it came to, not suggesting we all become supervillains.
Wow, that's a game changer. It's like, we might be able to achieve better AI safety, not by replacing humans entirely, but by combining our strengths. It's a team effort.
Precisely. And think about the scale. Human feedback is great,
Yeah.
but it takes time, it takes resources. This suggests a future where AI could play a bigger role in its own development, and we could potentially see much faster progress, all while keeping things safe and controlled.
It's like having a whole army of AI teaching assistants working around the clock, making sure everything stays on track. This is all sounding super promising, but I imagine there are still some hurdles, right? Some things that could go wrong.
First, it's still early days. One thing researchers are looking into is this idea of evasive AI.
Evasive AI. Sounds like an AI that's really good at avoiding those tough questions.
That's pretty much it. It's when an AI, instead of answering directly, especially if the prompt is challenging, tries to dodge the question altogether. Vague responses, changing the subject, you name it.
So basically, it's mastered the art of deflection, which, I mean, might seem harmless in some cases, but I can see how that would be a problem when it comes to transparency and accountability. So we're back, and we're still neck deep in this constitutional AI thing.
It's amazing, right? We've got AI that can learn to be good, even judge how good other AIs are being.
And we got to remember, we've been mostly talking about harmlessness here, keeping AI from, going rogue. But this CAI thing, it could have way bigger implications.
That's what's got me so excited. We've barely scratched the surface. So if we can use CAI to make AI safer, what else can we do with it? Can we use these principles to shape how AI behaves in other ways? Absolutely, and that's where things get really interesting. Imagine applying these same ideas, this guidance, this self-critique, to something like, oh, I don't know, an AI's writing style.
Hold on, are you saying we could use CAI to make an AI write more like Hemingway or Jane Austen or even like a technical manual?
Exactly. It's not just about what the AI says, but how it says it. We could train it to be more formal, more casual, even adapt its style based on who it's talking to.
Whoa, AI with this sense of style, that's a game changer. It's like we're not just preventing harm, we're teaching AI to communicate more effectively, more appropriately.
Right. It's all about making AI more compatible with how we communicate, how we understand the world. Imagine an AI that can adjust its style for a child versus an adult, a beginner versus an expert.
Okay, that's just cool. Personalized AI communication. It's like we're moving beyond just getting information from an AI. We're having a conversation, a good conversation.
Exactly. It all comes back to that idea of alignment, right? We want AI that not only acts ethically, but interacts with us in a way that makes sense, that feels natural.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Constitutional AI, who knew? It's not just about making AI safer, it's about unlocking a whole new world of possibilities.
And honestly, we're just getting started. Who knows what we'll discover as this research continues? One thing's for sure, this is definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. You, our listener, thank you for sending us down this rabbit hole. This is the kind of stuff that gets me pumped. The future of AI, it's looking brighter all the time. And until next time, keep those curious minds buzzing, because we'll be back with more deep dives into the world of, well, everything.